Good day, PAC Expo exhibitors and attendees. I'm Jim Mansfield, Senior Manager with Matrix Technologies. Honored to lead our Manufacturing Intelligence Division, and I'm joined today by John Lee. John is our Department Manager with MI, leads our consultants, our designers, and execution team members. Want to thank PAC Expo International for the opportunity to present today on what we feel is an incredibly important topic for manufacturers. We're going to spend about 25 minutes or so today unpacking the value of digital transformation. So we are in our 42nd year and currently have around 320 employees, growing at a rate we've not seen in quite a while. In fact, right now, we currently have 46 active job postings. In fact, that's a level of growth. So this year, we're on track to hit that 75 million or so range in annual revenue. And the nice part about us as an organization and our focus is that 85% of that revenue and those projects are additional engagements with our current partnering clients. So we're a full service resource for virtually any type of automation or engineering project within a wide number of markets and market segments, whether industrial automation or information system, manufacturing intelligence, MES, process facility and machine design, even up into our EPC services. We're our clients' process facility and automation experts. Let's break it down a little bit further. Within the automation and the engineering groups, MI is a division and part of that group, and our automation engineering groups covers the entire ISA 95 model from the device level 0-1 all the way through level 4, that ERP layer, and even into the cloud at this point. Also, specify, design, and deliver network architectures that support all five. And support all 5 layers through our 24/7 service and support teams. As far as manufacturing intelligence, we provide total solutions in support of digital transformation strategy development, proofs of concept, and enterprise rollouts of manufacturing execution systems, operations management, I4.0 or Fourth Industrial Revolution type solutions. John, you want to take it away?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Jim, and thank you for the overview and introduction. So, there's a lot of buzzwords out there today about digital transformation, Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing. So we just want to help unpack this a little bit and just talk a little bit about what is going on in our perspective, in our opinion. Digital transformation is actually disruptive, and it's laid out in these different revolutions, starting with the first industrial revolution all the way through what we're calling the fourth. And it's disrupting manufacturing all over the globe. Companies have the ability to generate huge amounts of data, which is digital, but they really use a small fraction of that. And we say small fraction, we're talking about the data itself and leveraging it as information, so contextual information. And this is really starting to be prevalent now that we have a lot of advanced technologies and software. And this is truly what's enabling the smart manufacturing today. A lot of companies today are stuck in this continuous improvement cycle. They just keep working with the data, integrating more, trying to get some intelligence out of it, or they just simply don't have access to the data that they truly need. And it could be impactful and really just enable that rapid and sustainable change. So we do see that, and that happens in some of this shifting as they're trying to move forward from 3 to 4 industry 3 to industry 4. And when we talk about moving forward, there are some things that are critical and are key to what has this triggered this event and why the movement here. And it's really that today's solutions and technology stacks are just enabling. There's a lot of more processing power from the hardware, from the software. The data is able to be integrated, standardized, transformed if needed, and integrated together. It can be, built on more common infrastructures. But there's just a lot to it, and there's a lot more enabling technologies out there today. For Matrix, we're able to leverage our experiences working through many different years, as Jim said, well over 40 years. But our experiences and knowledge with all of our technical know-how to help the partnering clients actually achieve best-in-class manufacturing. And this is through this convergence of IT and OT. We have been around the plant floor since the beginning. And with all the advances in technology, Matrix has been able to keep pace. We have different groups that work in some of the different sectors, different disciplines. And so we've really kept pace with that. And all this knowledge has enabled us to really help with this convergence of IT and OT. And that's really critical to being successful when you look at the I4.0 and the smart manufacturing solutions. Through the co-development of our client's digital transformation strategy, we actually leverage both I3.0 and I4.0 technologies and solution stacks to meet today's rigorous manufacturing challenges, enabling the ability to remain competitive in the rapidly changing US and global marketplace. So we're actually working with them from the beginning, helping them strategize, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that and what that journey looks like. But keep in mind, this is not a point to point. This is actually a journey. And as we go through this and help our clients digitally transform, there's going to be a lot of value and there's going to be a lot of opportunity. So, as we break this down a little bit more, we're going to look at the difference between I3.0 and I4.0, and the infographic on the right side of the slide actually shows that. So in Industry 3.0, it was much more vertical and layered, and this is that traditional Purdue model that you look at and that people talk about, where you have level 1 to level 4. And as you can see, there's a lot of operations management functionality on there, like I mentioned. But in Industry 4.0, it's a little bit different. So, it's kind of like networking where we kind of have an ecosystem, more like a, hub with a central single point in the middle. And this helps create that single source of truth. And that is actually what has been coined as the unified namespace. So it's that kind of central information that provides some open connectivity into more of an ecosystem. And what this does is allow you to have all these operations management features that can connect to the unified namespace. And you can actually use best-in-class software wherever you need instead of having vertical stacks. And you can actually bring them in without having to touch all the different layers. So this is really enabling the data to work for you. And this is what we call the data enablement of I4.0. And we also do call this digital manufacturing, right? So all this data is digitized. So we do call it digital manufacturing. And like I said, this helps remain a little bit of future proof. And what I mean by that is once we have a unified namespace deployed, it actually provides for a standard and open connectivity. So we're architecting for what we know today, but we're also architecting for what we don't know, for things that may come in the future. And so we're looking at one of those open connectivity that we believe is going to be durable, and it's going to be lasting into the future, and it's going to allow us to connect into many different things that we don't have today, or maybe we're not looking at, or just don't exist, aren't in the market yet. So it helps future-proof that a little bit, as opposed to being tied to protocols or standards with individual software vendors that may or may not be supported by anything outside of their software stack. And as we look to digitize and digital transformation, as the bullet indicates at the bottom there, think about moving, from the old clipboards, which are still in use today. Honestly, we still see clipboards in data collection. But think about moving from that to paper to glass, right? Digital to tablets to Ethernet, and having that information available everywhere, not just on that device, but within the realm of the ecosystem. So as we talk about digital transformation, I did want to just touch on, how do we approach this, right? So as I mentioned before, digital transformation is a strategy. It's not a project. And it's about transforming the way manufacturers operate the business, by leveraging data they generate every day. It's having that data in information, so in context, that they never rarely consume. And sometimes, even if they do, it's not in real time, right? It's coming from other systems and it has to be collated and it has to be grouped together. Sometimes you have to get it from, other systems. So what we do is we start with an assessment to help start building this strategy. So the digital transformation maturity assessment is the first thing there. And we really want to look at, 5 distinct groups within the manufacturer. So you have operations, maintenance, leadership, quality, and of course, IT, right? So we look at 5 distinct groups. And we want to get together and we want to help co-develop a strategy, put together a roadmap. And to get things kicked off, we always look for a proof of concept or a pilot. What is that first step we can take towards digital transformation? The other thing that we look at when we're talking about the digital transformation maturity assessment and coming up with a strategy is make sure that we establish some minimal technical requirements. Within these, things have to be things have to be edge driven, right? We want to look at publish and subscribe. We don't want to pull data, right? We don't want to have everything on scan. We don't want to have all that traffic on the network. We want to be able to be open and lightweight. We also have talked about the open architecture, right? So data is accessible to all the other systems. And we want to have some standards in there, whether we have notation like XML or JSON. But as we look at this brokering and messaging technologies, we want to make sure that there's standards in the payload and in the data that we're actually sending. Already mentioned lightweight, industry standards such as MQTT do meet these minimal technical requirements. I think in one of the last ones is just the report by exception. I mentioned, not wanting to have things on scan or pulled, but, publishing data only when it changes, right? And this is central to having that open architecture and to be fluid to allow more and more data to be published that the subscribers will have access to. So the report by exception is another crucial minimal technical requirement. So one of the other things that we go through when we're looking to help someone digitally transform, coming up with a strategy, is just starting by inventorying the entire business, right? We want to know what is the as is, and of course we want to talk about the roadmap. So what is the to be? We want to understand what are the business requirements, what are some of those pain points as we go through the different groups and we talk with the customer. We also want to, make sure we level set expectations about the minimal technical requirements, and we look at the unified namespace and how we're going to start integrating intelligence, right? We also want to make sure that we start small, as I mentioned, with a proof of concept, starting to gain some value, right? We want to go out there and we want to prove some of the minimal or some of the technologies and how these minimal technical requirements play in. So as we're looking to introduce the unified namespace, we want to do that with a proof of concept. So the other key thing with a unified namespace is being able to model the data, right? I mentioned having the context around the data provides it as information, right? So in ISA 95, there is parts that do explain, how to use proper notation for data, and that's that enterprise site area line cell. And we still do look at that. And then we also put them into, also functional groupings if we need to, like whether it's performance or OEE or other types of containers, right? So we can contextualize all of that data. I think the last thing as we start the digital transformation is just being able to present the information, right? It is very much an iterative process. As I said, it's a journey. And as you're taking the journey, every now and then you got to take a pause and you got to look back, right? We want to gain some value from our learnings. So we want to, have small steps like a proof of concept, and we want to see what we've learned from that and how do we re-inject the learnings and gain even more value as we look at the next step. So it's not just one roadmap, a bunch of phases that you just go right through them. It's actually, you take your time and you go through each step. You look at the information, and you also want to look at the learnings. Matrix, we have a lot of retrospective meetings where we go back and we look at how well we're doing things and what we want to continue doing more of. that's working well, and also look at, what changes may be needed as we iterate through anything that we do, including projects and digital transformation.
So John, this seems really risk adverse. I think about the legacy systems that you and I have rolled out in the past 25, 35 years for me. And some of these projects can be real behemoths, both on from a time consumption, but also from a financial aspect. And I remember trying to scope some of these projects out, and it's really difficult. This seems like a way in which the scope is reduced, but you still have the ability to maybe finish a proof of concept, add another functionality, or maybe take that proof of concept and scale it across multiple machines, then come back and advance. It seems really open to be able to adjust and move based on what the data is telling us. Does that make any sense? Or okay?
Absolutely, Jim. And in rollout, we call this being a little more agile, right, and being fluid, right. It allows for that extensibility where we can relook the features, right, and relook the next steps. It also lets us have that scalability in there, right, as we start to get something or a proof of concept or a feature that's implemented and working well. We could start scaling it to other areas, other lines, other sites. So being iterative and a little bit agile, as we're fluid and flexible, allows us to be extensible and scalable at the same time. Absolutely, good point.
Perfect, good stuff, John. Thanks.
So as we talk about what the digital transformation is, a strategy, it's a journey, and it's not just an individual project. We do want to actually look at one case, a case that we've looked at, a specific client. So in the next section, we're going to actually take a look at one of these that we went through, and we're just going to summarize it kind of a high level since we are limited on time here. But in this instance, we had a customer that was a global pharmaceutical company. They're looking to capture some more real-time data from all the various lab equipment that they have. And some of the pain points we listed out here. But really, they overall, just to summarize it, all these pain points were just limiting the opportunity for improvement and growth, right? It also was making it difficult to maintain, data integrity because they had manual data processes or disparate data, throughout all the equipment. And also with having separate equipment means, they had some data silos, and it's making the data hard to integrate. It makes data hard to manage when it's in different locations. And certainly the information was just not getting to the decision makers in accurate and timely fashion. And these pain points and others are common with what we see with a lot of customers who come to us, a lot of manufacturers that are just kind of stuck in the industry 3.0. They have data, they're generating data, but they're not producing useful information that can really drive value. They're not able to leverage it. So this was one customer in this case study that, I guess I wouldn't say textbook, but had a lot of the common themes that we see when we talk to customers. So we're going to go through this and see what it looked like, right? So as mentioned before, we wanted to start with a matrix transformational assessment, right? This is the process where we went through, we inventoried the business and the intelligence that they had. This was about a 3 to 4 week engagement. It did involve, facility walkthroughs, some interactive planning sessions to get information from the key stakeholders and the key influencers across those 5 disciplines: the IT, operations, quality, maintenance, engineering. And we really just wanted to understand that current state and get some alignment on what the pain points were and then what the future state would look like, right? So as we went through the assessment, we document all this over that period of time. And then we also were able to provide a score on operations on where they were in their digital maturity. So we do have a score and a scoring system that, I guess, runs some number statistics against similar manufacturers and provides MTA assessment score. These inputs, and information gained were also used to develop, the technology and the solution architecture. that we wanted to lay out. As we talk about I4.0, we're talking about a technology stack, not like a software solution stack, but just that technology stack. And one of the key things was we also wanted to look at that proof of concept, right? Collaboratively look at, what would a pilot look like? What would be a good area? Sometimes we call this low-hanging fruit, right? But we wanted to make sure it was an area where we could leverage some of the new technology. We could look at that unified namespace and really set out to have a proof of concept that they could look at and could help, present some information and provide some value, right? So this proof of concept is just the first milestone of many within the digital transformation journey. It's just that one small initiative that enables specific functionality and solves a specific pain point. This is also where we start with the data modeling, the unified namespace, and getting things connected. This is where we can start leveraging the data that can address the pain point and also enables us to prove out that concept and will give us that platform where we can start sustaining and scaling up, right? So as you look at the roadmap here on the presentation slide, you can see those step 1, 2, 3, and then 4, you can start learning and applying the knowledge. Also let you expand and scale out at that point. So as I mentioned for this particular client, the proof of concept we did look at was just connecting the lab equipment, right? So they have all the lab equipment, but we just wanted to identify one area in some of the devices. We wanted to get those connected up with the right technology. And we did use an MQTT broker in this case. And what we wanted to do was to be able to connect to some of the different equipment, pull some data up through, have a data model, and pull that in through a unified namespace. We knew that we wanted to visualize and trend the data. So we were also looking at where we're going to put the data, and in this case, it's a historian. So actually, there's a tool that we use a lot, the Miro collaboration board. So as we look at those steps of exactly what we did to connect the data and start moving it around in the proof of concept, I do want to present and show you what that looks like in practice and how the board that we use helps with that type of collaboration. So I'm going to switch sharing here real quick.
And we actually use that too on the retrospective aspects of as we go through projects, John. I think so. It's a great tool to use, and I'm excited to see this one again. It's been a bit.
Yeah, so a lot of the collaboration tools, Jim, are one continuous space, right? So they're not different pages. As I zoom in and zoom out, I can see that there's a lot of room for expansion. As we look here, we have site 1, site 2, and we can have different areas. We can draw frames around things. Of course, you can have highlights and colors for things. As you can see in this board, there's a space at the bottom that is an action tracker. Where we can actually set up different colors where we sit, within our development here. We can track action items and who. It's kind of lets us build out swim lanes. Here in the architecture, you can actually see in this particular case what we were looking at. So we have downstream, upstream, then we have all the lab equipment here in the middle. We do have it identified. We were able to talk OPC DA and UA, as well as we did have some text files that we need to bring in. So we actually looked at a couple gateways that we're going to be building out or finish building out. We're looking at both Cogent and HighByte to serve as the edge gateway. And I will point out that, even though we're talking about an ecosystem, we're not getting rid of, the firewalls. But when you have the publish and subscribe, it is a one-way push. So it is inherently secure because you're only pushing the data up through to the unified namespace. And in this case, we are going all the way to a canary historian. We are going to start likely with it on site, but we do know at the end we do want this to be up in the cloud. So we are looking at provisioning AWS instance for that. So as you can see, the MQTT does travel. It uses secure port 8883. We push that all the way up. And we do have a couple options that we're still working with on IT, if we're going to be able to push straight through, or if we want to push through this layer here, just to follow procedure. So we do have some requests in to get that approved. But as you can see here, when you have a collaboration board, you can actually go through here. We can take snippets, we can copy it, we can paste it in, make some changes to it. It really helps when we have like weekly meetings and we want to have status meetings. Like I said, we can also capture this and we can publish it into documents if we need to. And then we can also track actions. Some boards are interactive, so they'll tie directly into Teams or other tools. But in this particular one, we went with an open one that's called a Miro board.
Well, that's awesome, John. That's really cool. I'm seeing the yellow Post-it notes too. So that whole interaction where you got 5 different people on this, you got 5 different colors of Post-it notes. So gives an opportunity to go back and capture those notes, or people being able to add to it offline. So in your next meeting, you've got it's a great tool. You keep going on and on.
Yeah.
But that was a great one to use for this client.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. Okay, so let me see if I can get back to my presentation.
Got it. Yes, sir.
Okay. So just to recap, that's just going through the steps, in this particular case study for this pharmaceutical customer, we wanted that small proof of concept where we're just connecting up some lab equipment, right? We wanted to build it as a technology stack, not a software stack. We did want to look at, something that met our minimum technical requirements. So we went with MQTT. We are looking at HiByte there. There's a Cogent data hub to access some of the other data. But I think some of the biggest things that I touched on that I just want to repeat is, we want to remain agile throughout the whole process, right? Digital transformation, it's that journey, right? It's a strategy. It's not just a project. It's not just a phased out project. So you want to introduce learnings, and that's where the collaboration tools come in, so that you can collaborate constantly through each step and throughout that journey and as you go along. And then the time series data, I didn't get a chance today to show the actual database, but Canary Historian is one of the products that we do look at. It has the Axiom graphical tool where we can do the trending and pull all that data in and provide that back to the client. So just want to kind of wrap that up and where we ended at. And then I think, Jim, we do have a slide in here just to summarize things if you want to wrap us up.
We do, absolutely. It's a Q&A slide, and obviously this is recorded, so you don't get to ask Q&A. But we'll be doing this for PAC Expo. And those of you that are viewing this that may get an opportunity to come to the show in person, we'll be at booth 8643. So come on by, and we can further talk about the value of digital transformation and what it would mean to your organization. So thanks to everybody that has viewed this. We really appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you, and have a great day.